No one in the town ever noticed Daniel. Every morning he walked through the market with his head slightly down, wearing the same faded jacket and worn shoes. He never spoke much. He never smiled much. People noticed him only enough to judge him. "There goes that strange man again," some would whisper. "He looks lazy. He probably wasted his life." Daniel heard these words sometimes, but he never responded. He had learned long ago that defending yourself does not always change people's minds. The town was small, and in small towns, judgment travels fast. Across the street from Daniel lived a young woman named Sarah. She had recently moved to the town for work. Sarah was kind by nature, but like most people, she formed opinions quickly, especially when others shared theirs. "Stay away from that man," a neighbor warned her one evening. "He's odd. Always alone. You never know with people like that." Sarah nodded without asking questions. From that day on, whenever she saw Daniel, she felt uncomfortable. She avoided eye contact. She crossed the street when he came near. She told herself she was being careful, but in truth, she was judging. One rainy afternoon, Sarah's car broke down on the edge of town. The rain fell hard, soaking her clothes as she stood helplessly by the road. Her phone battery was dead. There was no one around. Then she saw him. Daniel was walking toward her, holding an umbrella. Sarah's heart began to race. Every warning she had heard echoed in her mind. "Be careful. Don't trust him." Daniel stopped a few steps away and spoke gently. "Your car. It seems stuck. Are you all right?" Sarah hesitated. She wanted to say yes, even though it wasn't true. "I can help," Daniel continued. "I was a mechanic once." Once, that word surprised her. Still unsure, Sarah nodded slowly. Daniel worked quietly in the rain, his hands moving with skill and patience. Within minutes, the engine came back to life. "There," he said, stepping back. "You should be able to drive now." Sarah stared at him, shocked. "Thank you," she said softly. Daniel smiled politely and walked away, disappearing into the rain. That moment stayed with Sarah. For the first time, her judgment felt wrong. Days later, Sarah saw Daniel again at the grocery store. This time, she noticed things she hadn't before: the way he held the door open for others, the way he greeted the cashier kindly, the calmness in his eyes. She realized something uncomfortable. She had judged a man without knowing his story. A week later, Sarah saw Daniel sitting alone on a bench in the park. After much thought, she walked toward him. "Hello," she said. Daniel looked up, surprised, then smiled. "Hello. I wanted to thank you again," Sarah said, "for helping me." "You're welcome," Daniel replied. They sat in silence for a moment. "May I ask you something?" Sarah said carefully. "Yes, people in town. They talk." And I listened without thinking. Daniel nodded slowly. "That happens. If you don't mind, what is your story?" Daniel looked at the ground, quiet for a long time. Then he spoke. "I used to have a family, a good job, a busy life," he said. "I worked too much. I was always tired, always stressed." Sarah listened closely. "One day, my wife fell ill," Daniel continued. "I told myself I would slow down later. I didn't." His voice remained calm, but pain lived between the words. "She passed away. Soon after, my son left town. He blamed me. Maybe he was right." Sarah felt her chest tighten. "I left my job, sold everything. Moved here to live simply, Daniel said. I don't talk much anymore. Silence feels safer. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry, she whispered. Daniel smiled gently. Life teaches us lessons in many ways. From that day on, Sarah saw Daniel differently. But the lesson was not just for her. One afternoon, a boy named Lucas was caught stealing bread from a shop. People gathered quickly, judging loudly. He's a thief. Teach him a lesson. Lucas stood frozen, terrified. Before anyone could act, Daniel stepped forward. Wait, he said firmly. People turned, surprised. He's hungry, Daniel continued. Not evil. The shopkeeper hesitated. Daniel reached into his pocket and paid for the bread. Lucas looked up, eyes wide. Thank you, he whispered later. Daniel walked the boy home. He learned that Lucas's father had lost his job and food was scarce. That night, the town talked again, but this time, differently. Did you see what Daniel did? He's not what we thought. Slowly, walls began to fall. People started greeting Daniel, asking questions, listening, and Daniel, little by little, began to heal. Months passed. One evening, Sarah sat with Daniel on the same park bench. I used to think judging was a way to protect myself, she said. Now I know it only made me blind. Daniel nodded. We all judge, but wisdom comes when we pause. Sarah smiled. Think before you judge. Daniel looked at the sunset and said softly, because everyone is carrying something you cannot see. Years later, Sarah would tell this story to others, not about a strange man, but about a lesson that changed her life. Judgment is easy. Understanding takes courage, and the world becomes kinder when we choose to think before we decide.